Hey everybody, how's it going? And welcome back to Copper Jacket TV. So I'm sure most of you remember the absolutely terrible concealed carry bill that California came up with in response to the Supreme Court's Bruin decision that essentially changed all may issue states to shall issue states. California's bill was absolutely terrible. It made it nearly impossible to get a permit, and if you got a permit, there was pretty much nowhere that you could carry anyway. It was very similar to New York's carry bill that actually passed, and you've seen all the lawsuits and litigation that's happened with that. Now, California's bill thankfully didn't make it, so they had to rewrite it and come up with something new, and that was SB 2 that was introduced late last year, December of 2022. And there's a lot of people wondering what's going on with that. Well, it's been through committee, it has been amended multiple times, and it looks like it's moving forward. As a matter of fact, there's a big meeting about this in just a few days. So let's go ahead and talk about what the new amended California concealed carry bill looks like, some of the things that were changed for the better, and some of the things that were changed for the worse. So it looks like we might be seeing this come out and possibly even being signed by the governor fairly soon. So again, let's talk about the changes. Now, first off, I want to thank all of my new and returning subscribers. I've been doing this for about 10 years now. We do Second Amendment news and reviews on some of your favorite products. So if you are somebody who's watching this video and you're not subscribed to the channel, consider hitting that subscribe button, that little bell notification. It's free. It only takes a second, but it helps me out quite a bit. And leave a comment for the algorithm because, well, they don't really like what we're doing here. So let's continue to spread the message. With that being said, let's get started. Now, let me start off by saying that I believe that all 50 states should be constitutional carry. I don't even think we should be talking about a bill like this, but there are some states out there that for the foreseeable future just will not get on board with constitutional carry, and California is one of those. They're going to squeeze every possible regulation restriction out of something that they can, even if it's unconstitutional, and then they'll fight back against it if it's found unconstitutional in court. So here we are talking about SB 2. Now, we're going to start off with some of the, good things that have changed about SB 2, because in the beginning, SB 2 was extremely restrictive on where you could carry. I mean, you couldn't carry into a privately owned business that was open to the public unless they had a sign that expressly permitted you to do so. You couldn't carry just about anywhere. I mean, you were stuck. That you could get your permit if you were lucky enough to get it, but you really couldn't leave the house and go about your daily business without running into some type of so-called sensitive place. Well, they have made several amendments and changed the sensitive places so that now there's a lot more areas that you can go to with this bill versus how it was before. So now let's talk about what's limited now. Okay, so what's limited now is going to be the same old stuff that you're probably used to, which are going to be, schools and courtrooms, government offices, the governor's mansion, facilities, things like that. Those are all still going to be off limits. They've added some extra limitations when it comes to public transportation, airports, and things like that. For instance, at an airport, you can't carry unless you are bringing in checked baggage, where it has to be unloaded and in a locked container, and it goes directly to that baggage check area. So if you're going to be checking your baggage, you can still do that. If you have it, let's say at a bus terminal where they allow you to check baggage there, it can be unloaded in a locked container and checked there. Otherwise, they don't allow it on the premises in pretty much any manner whatsoever. So they still kept the public transportation part of that, which is, kind of a bummer because people use other forms of public transportation other than just mass transit, right? And so that's going to be, I think, kind of an issue, but they really kind of dialed things down to include places that were already off limits before. Maybe some of the places that weren't totally off limits in the past were places where alcohol is consumed, or that's maybe the primary business. So that's going to be in SB 2. So if you go into a restaurant that, serves alcohol, or you go into a bar or any place like that where, alcohol is consumed on premises, you could find yourself in trouble. Also, they've kept the part that says if you consume alcohol, in one of these places or wherever, if you're just consuming it to begin with, you're not allowed to be carrying at that point. So you cannot do any of those things while still having that on your person. So that's some of the stuff that they kept, but everything else they pretty much wiped away through these amendments. Now, there is a legislative meeting on this bill set for tomorrow, and this bill really started to gain traction again just back on May 12th. So 5 days from the time I'm making this video is when this bill again started to really move, and it looks like at this point that it's got pretty broad support, so it looks like it might go through. Now, here's some of the stuff that's stuck that is really going to prohibit people from even obtaining the license. So while they did kind of limit the sensitive places that were covered in the bill originally, they kept a lot of the stuff that would keep you from getting the permit to begin with. So there's still going to have to be interviews. There's still going to have to be character witnesses. There could still be potentially psychological exams that are conducted at your expense. There's still going to be extensive background checks into your character and stuff like that. While this bill actually did get rid of the good moral character and the good cause clause that were previously existing. So, there's this new thing. They got rid of good moral character. They added they got rid of good cause and they added good moral character. Well, this apparently has wiped away that good moral character as well, but still they're instructing people to check your character. So even though the language has been removed, the action of checking your character is still there. They want to see if you are some type of danger to yourself or others. If they think that you might be, that's when they're going to force you to go to some type of psychological evaluation, and that information is then going to be given to them to review. So I don't know what's going to happen, with HIPAA laws and stuff like that. But again, that information that is collected by that person that's doing the review is going to be transmitted to them. Now, there's going to be extra fees that are going to be incurred, extra expenses that are going to be incurred. The amount of time that it's going to take you for training, which includes live fire, is going to be doubled. So, you're looking at a minimum is what this bill says, a minimum of 16 hours of training, which is going to include an entire course, written test, and so forth, just to get your first permit. Now, a renewal is going to be a minimum of 8 hours of training still under this. So let's say that you start the process, right? So you fill in your application. That application has to be turned in the county where you are residing or where you work mostly, right? So you do that, then you go through all your stuff, you pay your fees, and so forth. 50% of some of those fees are to be paid up front. The other 50% are to be paid at the time that your application is processed. But then you have to start this entire other scheme. Now, it says that once you start the application process, that you could be looking at 120 days of wait time. Now, that doesn't mean that your application wasn't approved earlier. It could be approved earlier, but the state has up to 120 days to notify you whether or not it was approved or denied. So there is a lot of time. Now, there's some provisions in here if you are denied to be able to appeal it. So there's a lot of different ways that you can appeal it if you are denied, but they also added to the list of what you could be denied for. And the list is so extensive that I'm going to have to put a link to it down below, and you're going to have to read it because there are quite a few things that will get you denied. Now, they're saying that you have a maximum of you can carry 2 at a time. That's it. Those 2 have to be registered to you through the Department of Justice. So let's say that you've had something for decades, right? And maybe you've had it since before you actually had to register things. You wouldn't be able to carry that because that is not registered through the California Department of Justice. And so when you're going through your background check, they're not only going to check on you, but they're also going to check on whatever it is you put down that you would like to carry. And so they're going to do a check on that, and that has to show that it is registered to you as well. Now, they're also going to be checking any publicly available information on you. So if you have social media accounts, a Facebook page, or something like that, they're going to be checking all of your posts. And why are they doing that? Well, to check on your character. The good moral character that's been removed from this bill, that's what they're going to be checking for. So they're going to check all the posts that you've made. They're going to check out everything to see if, there's a possible disqualifier that they can find there, and guarantee you that's exactly what they're doing. They're looking for those disqualifiers. So again, prepare for an extensive background check that includes those interviews, that includes digging deep into your past, that could include medical stuff, and could include checking out everything that you've said online for who knows how long. So it seems like what California has done here with SB 2, the amended bill that's actually moving forward, is they have moved away from a blanket coverage of so-called sensitive places, and moved more into making it as difficult as possible for you to get the permit to begin with. So anybody that actually does make it through is still going to have some sensitive places problems, but it's going to be very few and far between because of all of the disqualifiers and all the things you would have to go through, the monetary expenses, the time away from work in order to accomplish, 16 hours of training. And that's 2 full 8-hour work days. And if you're lucky, maybe you could do it on a weekend, but you're still giving up your entire weekend. So again, California seems to have switched from that blanket sensitive places coverage to now just really just drilling down on who can actually get the permit, because who's going to go through that entire process that, again, could take upwards of 4 months to complete. And we'll see if it extends past that. California is notorious for going over periods of time that they say that they're going to complete something in. I mean, background checks for everything else have taken extensive amounts of time. So I wouldn't see why this wouldn't go to 6 months or something like that either. So again, this bill is moving forward. It's currently moving forward in the Senate, and we'll see what happens from here. But again, California has a supermajority. This is what they want. This is what the governor wants. So the chances of this actually passing out are nearly 100%. It's really just more of a matter of a when than if. And so, we'll see what happens, and we'll track it as it goes down. I'll let you guys know about it. As somebody who lived in California for 42 years, this is still near and dear to my heart. I think the people of California absolutely deserve to practice all of their Second Amendment rights, and not just the ones that are granted to them by the government. So again, as long as they keep up the fight, so will we. Thank you all very much for watching. I do appreciate it. Please like, subscribe, and have a great day.